Okay, so if we're talking about this essay, the Australian government should stop witch hunting Assange. That's an academic essay. Which word would you choose for your academic title? Persecute, yeah, we just changed it to the persecution of, wouldn't we? That would be more formal, more neutral. So that word, in terms of connotation, would sit, well, it's a negative word. It's not zero, it's actually quite, it's a nasty thing. Many people are refugees because of persecution. But it's not overly negative, isn't it? Your job as an academic professional writer, generally professional writer is the same, should probably sit in that sort of range there. Don't get too positive, don't get too negative. Stay kind of in the middle emotionally.
But in general, it's negative.
It is, that's right. That word is negative, and that's where I've marked it. I'm saying it's not just negative, it's like a double negative. It's a fairly negative word. But witch hunt, I'd say, is getting more, it's got more emotion in it, right? And what you need to do is avoid emotion in academic writing. We might as well cover this now. We have talked about this fella before. Do you remember his quotation on excellence? Excellence. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is a habit rather than an act. It's a nice idea. He's full of good ideas. That's why we know him today. Here are his ideas on communication in a book called Rhetoric. And it's an important word, and I'll probably use that quite a lot in the next few weeks. Rhetoric, how you persuade somebody. And we're looking at an argument essay. Argument is about persuasion. He said there are three elements to persuasion. Logos, ethos, pathos. These are Greek words because he was writing 2,300 years ago. We use those words today. In the class, we'll use them in the particular way I'm going to describe. Outside these, a little bit differently. I'll explain that. Logos. Remember that word? Log. We've already covered it. Log, speaking, talking. Logic. So think of this as logic and your evidence. That's one way you persuade people, isn't it? So in an academic essay, the more logical it is, the more evidence, the stronger your piece. Ethos, credibility. If you don't know that word, cred is about belief. Believability. But we don't say that in English, we have to say credibility. Think of your credit card. You only get a credit card if the bank believes you're ultimately going to pay the money back, doesn't it? So you give someone credit, that word comes from trust. You believe somebody's going to pay it back. Okay? So credibility, if the person has a good reputation, if the argument comes out of the mouth of somebody who we trust, who historically they have a good reputation, they're an honest citizen, whatever, they're an authority or an expert in the area, a proven expert, that's going to increase the chances we persuade somebody. So, in an academic essay, would we want a lot of this or not very much? If we had quotes from Harvard University, Oxford University, Science magazine, top science magazine in the world, Lancet, top medical magazine, how are we doing? Have we got high ethos? Are we going to convince people? Yes. We want a lot of this, don't we? We've talked about getting material from credible sources. Okay. Pathos. Pathos means feeling. Let's take this word just to explore it a little bit more. What word can you think of in English? Pathy. Sympathy, right. When we have sympathy, sympathy means same. It's very close, isn't it? Same. You feel the same for somebody. Oh, you know, I feel sorry for you. Your relatives died. Empathy. Empathy, I understand your view of the world. I can understand how you feel. Not feeling sorry for somebody like this, but this is more like equal kind of relationship. There's a difference between sympathy and empathy.
Which one equal? Sympathy?
This one is more like equal.
Oh.
So this is a key word. For example, when I was doing psychology, this word used all the time, because a good psychologist can put themselves in somebody else's shoes. They can see the world from their view. That's empathy, not sympathy. You see the difference? Yeah. So this is like understanding somebody's way they look, feeling.
But when you talk to somebody, you cannot say, oh, I'm empathy. I always will say, I'm sympathy to you.
I'm sympathetic.
Yeah, I'm sympathetic, but not.
You can say, I'm empathic. You can say this. It's less common. But usually people say, oh, I feel sympathy for you.
Yeah.
But that's, again, different. They may be just explaining something. They're not suffering a lot, but you just understand it. You say, you wouldn't use this word.
That's right.
It tends to be academic. You just say, look, things like slang expert, I know where you're coming from. You know, I understand your situation, this sort of thing. We wouldn't necessarily use these words.
Because I first come heard that.
Yeah.
Sympathy is you understand the feeling of somebody,
Yes.
but you don't share it.
Yeah, quite possibly, that's
But
right.
sympathy, you share it.
Share, yeah, that's right. It could be, you could share it, but it's more intellectual kind of, yeah. It's an imagined, basically you imagine how the world looks from that person's view, yeah. So what we're just working with here is this path. It's a useful route. Let's keep going because many people in here are in medicine. Patient as a noun. What's happening to a patient? How are they feeling? They're not feeling so good, are they? So this word can also mean suffering. And you can see it, you know, here. Yeah. So a patient, someone who's feeling strongly, feeling bad. Okay, now patient, same word as an adjective. Oh, that bloody bus to Tea Tree Gully, that Adelaide bus, still not here. 40 minutes.
Waiting.
Okay, how do you feel? Are you suffering? Yeah, that's why those things are the same. It's the same word. So it's an example. If you go back to the root, you can see the connection across these words. So.
And sometimes people say, be patient, please.
Yeah, be patient. Just kind of suffer, please. Suffer quietly, please. That's really what they're saying.
But sometimes
Yeah.
it's positive question.
Sometimes it's
Positive thing, patient.
possessive.
Positive.
Positive. Ah, yes, it is. That's right. Yeah, it's your capacity to suffer, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. It is. It's usually positive. Impatient as a personality characteristic, negative. Yeah. So, but it's about suffering. Yeah. So, okay. So if we come back here, pathos, feeling. I think you now understand this word a bit more deeply. Strong feeling. Okay. We're talking about academic essay. How much pathos would you put in? Right. Shaking the head. Yeah.
More than the first one is.
This is strong. Lots of evidence, lots of logic, lots of good, reputable sources. Pathos, probably about that much.
Yeah.
Right. That's how your essay should look. That's how your professional report should look. Because, yeah, you don't, even if you do feel strongly, you hold yourself at a distance and you keep that language soft. And you can express very strong positions, but you keep the language soft. We'll look at how this is done. And I think this is a useful model. because it's not all situations. Okay. I don't watch much commercial television, so I don't know any current ads, but let's take, I don't know, what's a car ad? Who wants to pick a car that's on the television a lot? Toyota. Okay, so when we see a Toyota ad, is there lots of logic and evidence? Do they talk about
Most of the advertisers
performance? Most of the advertisements have this, don't they?
because then they say bring to women and men.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, what a feeling, you know, and it's exactly, they even use the word, it's that, isn't it? And, I mean, sometimes they give some statistics on cars and things, but they've only got 30 seconds. Usually it's pictures of beautiful people driving beautiful cars through beautiful landscapes, you know. So it's not much of that. And they don't often quote many experts, but it's that, isn't it? And that sells cars. They've worked out, the advertising industry has been going for since the 1950s roughly in America, modern advertising. And they know that's the thing that sells. So that's a different genre, that's a different form of communication. And some of you might get into that area, public relations or advertising or marketing, and you're going to have to select words. Yep, that belongs there, doesn't it? You might be writing a political pamphlet. Free Julian Assange, you know. Liberate WikiLeaks now. So you use that word, sure. But if you're writing academic professional stuff, you're going to have a very different profile. So we could look at lots of different genres and see different kind of balances of these things. So it's just a useful framework. I think as we work through and look at this essay, and in the next few days we're going to look at, I'll give you a few pages of people who have made mistakes in their essay. What kind of mistakes? And some of those mistakes are this sort of thing. Just doing too much of this. And there's lots of different ways you can do this. But it shouldn't really appear in the essay.
Sometimes I find the statistic cover my research. For example, about South Australia.
Yeah.
How many people use the public transport?
Yeah.
every
Good. Where's that?
It's in the middle. Credit.
Credibility. No, your actual statistics will be here.
Statistics. Evidence. I see.
Yeah, but if it's from the Bureau of Statistics, which is very reliable and rarely makes mistakes, then you've also got high ethos. If it's
University, some people.
Universities generally have high ethos, but if it was, I don't know, an example of a low ethos. If it was a person who wanted to sell lots of cars, a car making, who had a material interest, then you may not believe, depending, you may not believe the figures. So this is why, .com can sometimes be tricky, or often, but not always, be a problem. Your credibility can be a bit low. Anyway, have a read of this overnight. We've got two models now. We've got the hourglass model with the structure, thesis statement, topic sentences, conclusion, with recommendation, implication. So think of it with that hat on. You could think of it in these terms as well. How logical is it? Is it got lots of evidence? Are the sources credible? Is she, we see in the title, there's quite a lot of pathos. Does that continue in the rest of the piece? I think it's too much or too little? Have a read of that. And we'll start pulling it apart tomorrow. Alright. Everybody got one? Good. Okay, we did the political spectrum yesterday. Did you manage to finish the...
Can I get that done?
Yeah, you want to copy it? Alright. Yeah. Some quick comment or take a photo. I can stop the bus and you can get off and take a picture. Yeah. That's the quick way. what I'm going to do is, okay, yesterday, if you were not here, we went to, and it'd be a good little activity to do it, to consolidate, even if you do know what it means. It's on the Moodle.
Then I went home to try again. It's different again.
What happened this time, Lynn?
More further down.
Down.
Yeah, more further down.
Right.
Before I was like,
You were higher up.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, it took longer because I was trying to get the meaning of the question.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you don't get the meaning, you go wrong.
Right.
No,
Sure, yeah.
I believe when I first do it that time, I highly disagree or,
Strongly disagree.
Yeah, strongly disagree. But the second time, I'm not, okay,
Right,
I agree
just
or
Disagree.
not agree.
So you're more relaxed in the afternoon. Right.
Yeah, I'm not a dictator now.
Right, so you're authoritarian in the morning and chilled out in the afternoon. I bet your kids know that, don't they? They say, oh, Mum in the morning, I'm going to school. Yeah, quickly. Okay, we went to this, yes, and as we're discussing, it's got this double thing of left and right, and then we've got authority, and we've got authoritarian, and we've got libertarian. I'll just write that one in full because you can see the word liberty there, can't you? So believing in freedom of the individual and not government that watches or controls people a lot. So on this particular site, their sort of argument is that not all left-wingers are the same. Some are here, some are here. Not all people on the right would be same, you know. Generally speaking, and that's kind of interesting where you fall, you probably work that out. However, generally in language, and just political discourse generally, we really think about that horizontal axis, don't we? We say that person, that's coming from the left, that's coming from the right, not so much the vertical. So we'll just talk in these terms. As I said, so what we're doing is kind of entering the critical thinking area, or this word realm, you know that word? Like kingdom, a realm. So we'll say it's like an area of thought. So we're starting to enter the critical thinking realm. We're going to go a fair way with this. I'm starting here because critical thinking is about, criticising ideas. So we might have a text there. And we're going to practice a lot, for example, looking at logos, like, that idea and that idea, not connected, not a logical connection. There's a problem. There's what we call a fallacy, a logical error. And maybe here, not enough evidence, and poor credibility here, etc. So we look inside the text, micro, and we find lots of problems or lots of strengths, and that's really important to develop our tools of reading or listening and criticising and analysing argument. However, critical thinking also involves no text exists by itself. The only reason we understand texts is because we've read or heard other texts. I mean, how do we know those words there? Because we've read and heard other words the same words in other texts. We're slowly building this, what we call intertextuality, this connection. So, and these texts are relating to each other, aren't they? Etc. So the world is full of texts that interrelate. Some of these are spoken. Some of them are written. Some of them might even be drawn. I'm just doing it like a bit of artwork. It may not be a linguistic text. Could be a visual text. So we could look around this room or whatever. There's just texts happening everywhere. And really, to understand the nature of that bit of writing, we need to do two things. We need to pick it apart and look at the micro, sure. But a full understanding of anything really only comes from seeing its place in a context, doesn't it? If I really wanted to understand you really well, if I visit your home and see you in your family context, I learn things about you. If I see you in your native cultural context, I learn another set of things about you, etc., etc. So context is really important for cultural reasons. This is why history is so important, because it puts any moment in context. Very important. So, how do we get that context? One of the best things, I think, is as a road map. Basically, this is a big landscape. How do we drive through that? How do we get a map that's going to take us somewhere in the middle of all that confusion? Well, that can help often clarify where things sit. So, you know, if that's a right-wing text, then they're going to agree with other people on the right. Unless we can almost predict, therefore that reader who I know is kind of on the left is probably going to disagree on this particular issue, they'll disagree. This might be more in the centre, etc., etc. You know, now, being able to predict like that can help us often guess. Sometimes we're wrong, but it gives us a certain level of clarity and a certain understanding of the issue itself, not just the text of the issue. So, it's one of the reasons we explore this. So, if we think of reading, usually, traditionally, reading is taught on this level. Let's look at this text. Let's answer the 12 questions, you know, micro, micro, micro. Instead of, okay, let's step outside. Let's learn about that. Let's do our 12 questions, sure. That's not enough. Now we understand the text. Let's step out. Where is that text located? In history, in society, on the left-right spectrum. We'll get another whole level of insights into that text. I know I'm talking kind of theoretically at this point, but hopefully through the course I'll sort of demonstrate how that happens. So, what does this left and right business mean? Well, we kind of tested themselves. But all right, you got a dot on the page. What does that mean? This is what we've got to explore today. So,
May I ask one question?
Yeah.
My essay have 3 paragraphs. May I extend it to 4 paragraph or 5 paragraph because to cover 1,500 words not easy?
you can have as many paragraphs as you like. There's
Really? No limited.
Now, there's a difference between sections and paragraphs. If you've got 3 key sections, because you've got 3 main arguments.
May became 4 or 5.
Well, I just want to make the point, if you just, just go through. There's your 1,500 word essay, and you've got 3 main points you want to make, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, those we'll divide into sections. There's your point number 1. Why is it public transport? Why public transport should be free. Okay, but that section, it might have 2 paragraphs. It might have 3, it might have 4, it might have 5, it might have 6, you know, etc. There's no limit on paragraph. What you need to make sure is your thesis statement, if in your thesis statement, TS, you say there are 3 sections, then we should see 3 sections. If you say there are 4 sections, then, you know, we should see 4 sections. Sections and paragraphs are different. Yeah, so don't get stuck on me. That would limit you far too much. Yeah.
Do we need to write the same number of paragraphs in each section?
No,
or,
not at all. You can have 1 paragraph in one and 6 in the other. Just depends. You know, if you feel one area you want to treat in more detail, that's fine. No, that's entirely up to you. Okay, well, left and right. I'm going to write up some topics or some kind of positions, and I'm going to hand it over to you to figure out, are they on the left or are they on the right? All right, so for example, we've talked about some of these already. Some of them are isms, but not all of them. some of them get a bit more complex. There's a start. I'm going to keep going. Oh, did I? Sorry, yeah, thank you. Okay. Yep. I'll write some more in a minute. But there's a start. Okay, guys, you can either talk between yourselves or join a group. Traditionally, do these things belong on the right or the left? Okay. Okay, I'll hand over to you. I'll just turn this off and I'll get quite a list up here.
So what is the
And